Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's another red week because of sort of various bits and pieces that we'll come to. But yes, down about 4,000. This is sort of largely on the altcoin side. Bitcoin still sort of holding up at 96.5, not too bad, and it sort of goes into weekend slumber, I suppose you'd call it. ETF demand sort of still driving quite a lot of the activity, and it sort of mainly moves during Monday to Friday time now. You sort of seem to be getting these very slow periods during the weekend. But yeah, we had the coin shares report, which kind of knew was going to be negative. Next one should be negative as well, unless we had some crazy inflows elsewhere. So yeah, 415 million of outflows in the last week. This has come almost entirely from Bitcoin. Other assets sort of not looking too bad. Ethereum minus 7 million. Almost nothing out of the multi-asset, which is quite good at sort of 7.2 billion in assets under management. They saw less than a million in outflows and inflows into Solana and XRP. 6 million into SUI as well. So didn't realise there was too much in the way of SUI ETFs, but 384 million. And a little bit into Litecoin and Cardano. And there's a PIF ETF, presume. Again, that's in Europe, 131 million. No inflows. Not entirely sure why they're sort of showing this if they've got 3.9 million, admittedly, in outflows in others. But yeah, or I'm guessing it's the biggest one out of, it's bigger than any of these others. So yeah, Pith, a chain link competitor on Solana, in case anyone was wondering. So yeah, by country as well, it's pretty much US, Australia, sort of small inflows, reasonably small inflows, I suppose, into Canada, Germany, and Switzerland. Sweden, sort of basically flat. Small outflow from Hong Kong and Brazil, but sort of largely, I mean, that's a net inflow, totaling all those up. A little bit into some other countries as well. 17 billion in other countries ETFs as well. Sort of not even sure where they would be looking at sort of all of these, but yeah, 17 billion. Looking at this week, it was almost a full week of net outflows, and that was just because Monday was a bank holiday. Last week we did at least get just Friday as positive, but yeah, this week 64 million and 62 million on Friday, with a 364 million outflow on Thursday. BlackRock sort of took in a small amount on a net basis, sort of 2 positive days and one negative 112 million, so they're not losing a huge amount. And I think I saw that they're at 50% market share now, with them sort of not losing a huge amount, and as you can see, sort of an enormous amount of red elsewhere. So yeah, people liking BlackRock. And as I say, we're going to get another negative coin shares report off the back of this. Full week, every day of outflows on Bitcoin. And Ethereum sort of similar to this week, really quite muted. Sort of two small inflow days, 4 million and 19 million, and then a 13 million and 8 million outflow. So it's almost entirely flat, which is quite interesting. Nothing at all from BlackRock all week, which is kind of unusual. Zero inflows or outflows for a whole week. And similar on some of the others, but these are obviously quite small. The BlackRock one is sort of at, I can't remember where they're at now. It's 4.4 billion of inflows, but I can't remember where it sort of actually sits in market cap. But yeah, to have sort of billions in assets under management and have zero net in or out for a whole week is quite unusual. So this week's MicroStrategy, we always have to focus on it because they are driving a fair amount of buying. They didn't buy anything, and he sort of did his usual tweet of MicroStrategy has bought no Bitcoin this week on Monday. Sort of seems to see that he has to tweet every Monday now, it seems, whether they buy or not. But they did announce a $2 billion convertible senior notes offering. So, I mean, when we sort of report the buying, it's usually buying that's likely sort of within the past week. It's not a lot of people sort of say that they're, now buying it or buying it that day or whatever, which isn't the case. They're saying they bought it in the past. So this is maybe a little bit of advance notice of them buying within the next sort of few days, depending on how long it takes to sell those convertible notes. I'm guessing they might have, been already sold, considering this was 20th of Feb. So, yeah, obviously with a weekend, but they could have already been sold and, money going in. Some people say they buy over the weekend. So we were having a reasonably good rise on Friday, sort of across the market, leading up to Bybit, one of the largest exchanges, I think probably the second largest behind Binance. They got hacked. They have taken 1.5 billion, it looked like, of Ethereum, almost entirely Ethereum, and it's sort of been pinned on the North Korean Lazarus group. And this is sort of leading to people wanting to withdraw their funds, over 4 billion of withdrawals. From what I saw, this has been largely coming out of stable coins, so people aren't sort of selling their crypto to withdraw. They're just withdrawing stable coins, so maybe not the worst thing, and possibly why we haven't seen a sort of huge drop off the back of, if 4 billion's worth of crypto was sold, probably would have been a lot worse. But yeah, people sort of worried that they won't have their funds. They're sort of coming out and saying we're backed 1-to-1 and it's all fine. We can handle a bank run. But yeah, people are sort of nervous, obviously, about FTX and sort of many other exchanges that have had hacks and gone under, basically. Saying the cause of the hack remains unclear. I sort of heard it widely reported as sort of basically masking a fake user interface over the actual one. They were calling it a musking attack in their safe system. So this is the sort of security on top of it, from what I gather. So it's a very sophisticated attack, and if it's North Korea, assuming it is North Korea, there's very little chance of a sort of, give 90% back and we'll keep 10% or something. I would imagine they'll just keep the whole lot. Bybit are saying that they have, reserves to sort of deal with this, and everyone sort of should be made whole, but obviously that's a lot to lose. Oh yeah, and there have been more pushes to roll back the Ethereum blockchain itself, like happened years and years back from a hack, and it sort of diverged the community entirely, created Ethereum Classic from the people that didn't want to roll back the chain, saw that as completely wrong and sort of makes it too centralized, if you like. You can't call yourself decentralized and then say, oh, but we're actually going to basically delete everything that happened in the past sort of few days and bring those funds back. This has been sort of requested by lots of members of the community, and it was sort of commented on by the chief at Bybit, and it was sort of suggested by Arthur Hayes, the BitMEX co-founder. I think he's sort of somewhat anti-Ethereum. Could be even a little bit of sinisterness in that, suggesting that they do it, which would sort of ruin Ethereum's reputation. And he's sort of very keen on Aptos and, other blockchains. But yeah, I don't think rolling the chain back is a good thing. It would just create another contentious split again, and you'd have Ethereum Classic 2 or whatever they want to call it. So I think probably leave that alone. On the positive side, though, we've got a few SEC bits. It's looking like they're potentially going to drop the Coinbase lawsuit. This is sort of not confirmed. It's been said by Coinbase themselves. Brian Armstrong, the CEO, said to have agreed to drop the case pending approval from the agency's commissioners. I think this was seen as relatively likely, but it would be nice to see confirmation from the SEC. and yeah, Coinbase will be given the green light. I think if the US want to, make the country a dominant player in Bitcoin, then the biggest exchange sort of being seen as legal again would be a great help because Binance, even without CZ, is still by far the biggest exchange in the world. It's worth noting that the enforcement meetings for the SEC are currently made up of Mark Ueda, Hester, and Caroline Crenshaw, who sort of most people saw as even more anti-crypto than Gensler. Obviously, we'll never really know whether Gensler actually was anti-crypto or whether it was sort of, forced upon him by the higher ups, I suppose we would call them, and whether Paul Atkins will actually be as pro as everyone's sort of hoping. We were sort of very positive about Gary Gensler when he was announced after his, MIT lectures and sort of relatively positive comments. So yeah, wouldn't get too excited about Paul Atkins until he's in and has sort of, maybe had a few months of doing positive things, but we'll see. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this does get dropped sort of fairly shortly. This wasn't a huge surprise. The SEC approving a yield-bearing stablecoin. So you have Tether, obviously, as the biggest stablecoin out there and gives no interest whatsoever. And USDC, which sort of doesn't really pay interest to holders. It gives some of its return to Coinbase, and Coinbase sort of offer out some bits and pieces to users, but that's not yield for stablecoin holders. And we've had Figure Markets launching a new stablecoin, YLDS, that will have a 3.85% yield. So yeah, they obviously want to push stablecoins because it's foreign money potentially investing in dollars that then buy most likely US treasuries. So it's sort of seen as continuing to push dollars around the world. The sort of government under Biden was sort of fairly anti-stable coins, and this is now being seen as, why were we, basically? And the US are trying to push stablecoin legislation. Obviously, the EU and Hong Kong have actually sort of made some progress, they're saying, with stablecoin legislation, and EU has the MiCA regulations. So yeah, the US are seen as lagging behind. February the 5th, they put forward the Stable Act, and former CFTC chairman sort of said he supports some of it as sort of full reserve for tokens, limitations on the activities of an issuer. Sort of quite read what they want to limit, but there are many areas where it remains deficient. So yeah, he's saying they need to sort of harden up on that legislation, but I would say probably want to get a move on. On the ETF side, though, they seem to be rather friendly. They're sort of acknowledging a load of filings, half a dozen filings in 2 days. And this is from sort of NASDAQ and CBOE on behalf of, 21 shares and the sort of smaller issuers. We haven't seen a lot from BlackRock, sort of suspiciously quiet. I expect they're waiting for something maybe to get acknowledged, and then they jump in and say, oh, we'll do that as well, and then everything gets approved. That seemed to be the way it sort of worked under the Biden administration, at least. But yeah, they're looking for increases in the options on the Bitcoin ETFs because that's seen as quite low. They're looking for XRP and Solana ETFs. They're looking for options on the Ethereum ETFs, and the in-kind creations as well. The SEC seem to be quite sort of receptive to all of this, and also the SEC is very, very interested in staking, apparently, and will sort of be interested to listen to proposals to swap the or convert the existing Ethereum ETFs and probably issue new ETFs with staking approved, which it hasn't been before. And I would say part of the reason the Ethereum ETFs haven't done quite so well, because if you can get 4%, whatever they're at the moment, staking on your own, then buying into an ETF and not getting the staking is just objectively worse, 4% worse. And big institutions will just think you can hire a manager, or sort of give that duty to one of your existing managers to stake it themselves, and not have to use the ETFs. So we'll have to see where this goes. If they do a Solana one, then I think Solana's still at sort of 8-9% or more in staking sometimes. So it would have to have staking, otherwise it wouldn't get any support at all, I wouldn't have thought. Just coming back to Tether as well, I mentioned this in the stock video yesterday, but Tether making an unsolicited bid for sort of increasing their stake in Adeco Agro, the Latin American agricultural business. So I wasn't aware that they actually owned 19% already. They sort of bought in a stake last year and sort of has increased that to 19%. And they're now sort of making a bid to acquire a majority stake, 51%. This would be at $12.41 per share. It's sort of been at $9.50 for quite a while since I bought it, and rose to sort of mid to high $10 on the news. Presumably people unsure as to whether it'll get accepted. The board is reviewing the offer with financial and legal advisors, whether it would be in the interest of shareholders. And a spokesperson to CoinDesk said that they think land is a critical asset class, scarce, and yields long-term returns, as historically a safe haven during geopolitical uncertainty, which we certainly have a little bit of at the moment. Investing in agriculture aligns with their vision of resilience and sustainability, complementing our holdings in Bitcoin and gold. It's sort of worth noting that they do hold quite a bit of gold, so they're being quite defensive, and investing in sort of land, agriculture is sort of seen as increasing that. They have sort of 200,000 acres of land, or hectares of land, and very substantial commodities business. And they're also, from what I read, have a 10% stake in a sort of commodity tokenization company as well, called Agro Token. So Tether were sort of quite interested in that as well, it seemed. And it's just carrying on Tether's sort of weird and wonderful investments. Sort of noted last week, I think, that they bought a 5% stake in Juventus Football Club. So, you could see this as sort of defensive investments, but then buying stake in a football club. I sort of saw that as, a better alternative to sponsoring football clubs, where the money's just gone and you might get your name on the shirt, but, buying part of the club presumably means that you're allowed to put your name, on the stadium somewhere, on, billboards and all sorts of stuff, without having to pay. And, you could sell your stake at some point and recoup your money. So, yeah, I saw that as quite good. But buying companies now as well. So I've yet to make my buy. I was sort of discussing, quite tempted to increase my purchases of the 5 new sort of Solana ecosystem coins that I bought, and following the sort of Libra token debacle, we've seen sort of usage drop a fair bit. If you look at sort of transactions per second, it's been sort of on a relatively steady decline, down to 4,223. It was at sort of high 4,000s fairly steadily, admittedly in sort of January, 18th, 19th of January, you're at 4,300, so 4,223 isn't exactly terrible, and we were sort of below 4,200 on sort of late November, so that was after the election and sort of at the getting towards the highs of Solana's price action. So to still be above that, even though it's dropped a little bit, is, I would say, okay. But it's obviously whether this is, the start of a larger trend downwards, which I just wanted to kind of wait and see if this maybe leveled out a bit and, price action has sort of gone down quite a bit further than fundamentals maybe should dictate. Looks like the fees on Solana have gone down quite a bit more than just transactions per second, to be fair. You're at sort of 30,000 in priority fees, sort of priority fees being the ones for meme coins and all sorts of stuff, people who want their transaction to go through immediately, basically. And yeah, we're sort of below 7,000 yesterday, which sort of hasn't been seen for quite a long while. Certainly sort of the last 3 months, you're in the mid 20,000s. There was one day of under 10,000 in December, but you do have to go all the way back to pre-election to see 6,000 on priority fees. Sort of mid-September time, it was at 3,000, and then sort of went above that and stayed there basically, sort of leading up to Trump token times. So yeah, fees are down quite a bit. Vote transactions. Look at non-vote transactions. Obviously, voting transactions on protocol upgrades and that sort of thing don't really count as much. But non-vote transactions down at sort of 77 million. That was sort of, back in November time when it was there. And active wallets. Active wallets don't look too bad, really. You sort of saw, it was around 3 million, and 3 million is a hell of a lot of wallets. They're at 2.2 million now. Sort of October time, they're at 1.5, and sort of pre-election they were at 5 million. Sort of peaked out at about 7 million, 8.7 on one day. Still quite a lot of new accounts and new SPL tokens. So whether people are sort of abandoning meme coins and the meme coin casino, you're still getting 50,000, 46,000 new tokens created yesterday. So yeah, the casino continues. So again, mid-December they were exactly the same, but it's whether this trend continues. It doesn't seem to be at the moment. NFTs sort of still at a relative low. 6,000 NFTs created in a day. That's not exactly huge. You're at sort of 20s, 30s in mid-January. But yeah, I just thought some of these stats were interesting just to see if the blockchain is still getting used. Active programs look sort of a little bit better than most other metrics. It's sort of pretty much at the highs. They sort of seem to have a little bit of a low every weekend. You sort of see these couple of down days, maybe a little bit more going on during the week. But yeah, 1,800 active programs, and you were at sort of 1,700 in November, 1,700 in December as well, and January. So I didn't think that was too bad at all. So I'm kind of watching, see if we sort of plateau in this a little bit and maybe make those buys. So looking at coins for the week, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, as is often the case at the moment. Bitcoin down 1.5%. As I say, it's held up relatively well. Solana itself hasn't. It's down 11.9%. That's sort of pretty much all of the loss for this week. Ethereum is up 3%, doing quite well. Chainlink down 6%, and then so my Sol ecosystem coins, if you like, these have been sort of worse during the week, but that is down. Jito is down 10.5%. Helium is up 2.8. That was sort of down quite a bit more during the week. Radium, obviously on the lower amount of meme coins, is down 17%. Metaplex down 15.5%. and Honey, the Hive Mapper token, is up 3.4. So yeah, these were sort of quite a bit worse off during the week, and I was sort of very close to making my buys. But just looking at the sort of analytics, there is sort of, obviously fears amongst a lot of people that sort of Solana may have topped, and this was sort of the last straw basically, and it will get fed up with meme coins, and that could be bad for the network overall, and it won't recover. But I'm a little bit unsure of that. I'm sort of relatively firm believer that meme coins are sort of testing the network, and people have seen that it didn't go down in the launch of the Trump token, and I don't think the Libra token really got that much use, but yeah, I think people are believing that the blockchain didn't go down and it is decentralized. People can use it for whatever they want, so maybe we'll sort of build our programs on Solana. So we'll see. I've got sort of probably about £6,000 to deploy into something, and I think these 5 tokens will probably get most of it, if not all. So we'll see. Could be there by next week. I know I keep saying that, but yeah, who knows? Leave your thoughts in comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.